have Harmeet Shah, who in fact wants to, raise some questions here. Harmeet, over to you.
Nabila, I would like to ask the BJP here that is there a Khalistani movement alive in Punjab? Because to the best of my knowledge, there is no Khalistani movement at all as of now in Punjab. Yes, there are some remnants maybe, but first of all, I think what needs to be investigated here is why such provocations on either side happen and are allowed to happen. So I would like to ask the gentleman from the BJP, because Punjab doesn't have a history of communal riots at all, even during militancy. So how do they see this situation in terms of communal harmony which does exist in Punjab?
All right, Harmeet, we've in fact lost the BJP leader who was with us on the phone line. But Harmeet, over to you. As we see the visuals here, we see that the Shiv Sena looks threatened by the Khalistan groups. In fact, the Shiv Sena has been raising protest slogans saying Khalistan Murdabad. That's almost the branding of their protest march. And it's shocking that they were also allowed to protest with naked swords in their hand. Wielding swords, illegal in any protest march or anywhere for that matter. Using arms and ammunitions, even if it's swords like that in protest processions, is completely illegal. But they carried out a protest march with two swords, almost clashed right in front of the Kali temple with the pro-Khalistani groups, who also came with an intention to attack. And the visuals that we see here is shocking. The Nihans there running straight at the Shiv Sena in attack mode with those swords, pelting stones. And this is clearly a law and order collapse in the state of Punjab, in Patiala, as we see. Do you believe, since you are from the state, do you believe there is a Khalistan movement that is so threatening for the Shiv Sena to carry out constant protest march condemning this so-called terrorist movement?
There is no terrorism in the first place in Punjab. Let's be very clear about it. I think a lot of restraint is required here when we talk about Punjab, terrorism and Khalistan. There is no Khalistani movement. You travel from Chandigarh, you go right up to Amritsar. There is no such thing at all. We just had elections. If there was a movement, why would 72% of the electorate would participate in state elections? That's number one. Number two, in Punjab, as I mentioned before, doesn't have a history of communal riots. Even during militancy, there was hardly any communal riot. Now, what needs to be investigated is that why this situation was allowed to unfold. Is there maybe an intelligence failure? The provocators of this rioting, because such thing is completely strange to Punjab, where communal unrest breaks out. Punjab doesn't have a history of communal unrest, and also I'd like to know, I think the situation is pretty fluid. To my knowledge, when people call themselves Khalistani supporters or people call themselves Shiv Sena supporters, first of all, there is no leader. There is no movement in the first place. I mentioned there is no leader for that movement because the movement doesn't exist. And I don't really know what's the base of Shiv Sena in Punjab. Are these Shiv Senics, the alleged Shiv Senics, are they self-anointed? They call themselves Shiv Senics, or are they official representatives of the Shiv Sena party? That's also unclear at this moment, because in Punjab you have BJP, in Punjab you have AAP, in Punjab you have Akali, in Punjab you have Congress. There is no such base of Shiv Sena in Punjab in the first place.
Right. No, but we get that. There is no base of the Shiv Sena in the first place, but there's certainly, there is certainly quite some number of Khalistani, pro-Khalistani groups who are very well entrenched along Punjab. They belong to the same region, and we hear that in the recent past there's been several cries almost or renewed demands for a separate state, as what the Khalistan groups have wanted right from the start. So do you believe that there is this sudden renewed demand for a separate state by the Khalistani groups at this point?
there are fringe elements, but they are not part of the mainstream. That's absolutely clear, because if that was the thing, then people would have boycotted. There is no popular movement. If that was the thing, people wouldn't have participated in the election process. They did, and in fact, in large numbers. Businesses are running, and in fact, if you see the results of the assembly elections, it was both the Hindu and the Sikh communities who voted, overwhelmingly for a party like Aam Aadmi Party in Punjab. So it does indicate that there is a common ground. People marry off their children into each other family. So I don't think that there is any movement as such. Yes, but what needs to be investigated is what caused this flare up, and who are the people on both sides who allowed such situation to unfold, because this is quite a strange thing to have happened in Punjab in decades, or rather, since independence, that some sort of communal rioting was about to take place, which shouldn't have happened in the first place, because that is not Punjab.
But Harmeet, it's very interesting that there are some viral videos on social media showing some pro-Khalistan groups chanting Khalistan Zindabad. And this has come, interestingly, after the AAP won in Punjab overwhelmingly. In fact, we have Jeevan Josh, AAP MLA, joining us on the phone line for more on that. Jeevan Josh ji, we are looking at a huge clash between the Shiv Sena workers or protest groups clashing with pro-Khalistan supporters. Now, this is the pro-Khalistan supporters is what sources tell us who they are, but you've got to establish for us who exactly is that group. Are they Khalistani groups who are right now present in large numbers, who are now, of course, looking for a separate state under your regime? The accusation is that AAP seems to be harboring some of the pro-Khalistan groups.
Let me tell you one thing very clearly, Nabila, that this clash is not between two groups. It's absolutely a political issue. It's absolutely a political issue. It's not a clash between two groups. The two groups, two issues. This is a political issue between one side is Shiv Sena and Congress, and the other side is Akali Dal. So this will not work in Punjab. We are very clear. We are very, very clear about this, that this will not work in Punjab. But we have been managing it, and we were able to control it within an hour. And what we know till now is कि कुछ पुलिस वाले भी बीच में थोड़ा सा घायल हुए हैं, but none of them will be spared.
No, but it's very interesting you call this political. If you can reiterate for us, these are political party people who are currently facing off, is that right?
Yes, of course. Yes, I am repeating that this is absolutely a political issue. One side is Shiv Sena and Congress. The other side is Akali Dal. I am again repeating.
Which side is the Shiv Sena? One side is Shiv Sena and the Congress, which is the Shiv Sena you're saying, which protested. And the other side you're calling the Khalistani groups, the pro-Khalistani groups as Akali Dal?
They are the Akali Dal people, yes.
The allegation is that under your government, the Khalistani groups are finding some kind of leverage. That's the allegation, that AAP is giving the Khalistani groups some platform.
इसको फिर को रंगत देने की कोशिश की जा रही है, whereas it is absolutely a political issue. Absolutely a political issue.
No, then who's responsible? You are responsible for law and order in the state. How did you not anticipate a clash like this? Shiv Sena carrying out a protest, were you not aware? We hear that there was permission taken to carry this protest.
We controlled the situation in an hour's time, and we are again repeating that the culprits will not be spared, and this will not work in Punjab this time.
No, this is post-mortem action. What were the preventive measures that were taken? If this was a permission that was taken, a permissible protest that we understand the Shiv Sena carried out, how was swords allowed? How did you allow swords?
It has been, they are the Congress and the Akali Dal, they are so insecure, and they are stooping to such levels. And I am again repeating that there has been no clashes between two groups. It's absolutely, again, a political issue.
Right. Stay with us. Harmeet Shah, of course, joining in. Harmeet, please take it away. Here you have MLA of the AAP, blaming it on political parties, Akali Dal, Shiv Sena, Congress of clashing, and that this is a political issue, less of a citizen issue.
Well, I'd like to ask Mrs. Jeevanjot Kaur that what's the plan of action, further action? What's the plan to investigate it deeply? Because yes, we know that there was a clash which could have escalated. But what is expected of the AAP government at this moment is to investigate it deeply. So, what kind of investigation will be ordered? Because I think that will be more important for our audiences to know, and what kind of prosecution will eventually take place, if she can throw some light on that.
You know, unfortunately, Harmeet, we've lost her line at the moment. In fact, we're going to try and patch her again. But, you know, Harmeet, asking you on the same lines, we hear that the Aam Aadmi Party has overwhelming support from the pro-Khalistan groups. Is that true? This is the information that we get from Punjab, that the Aam Aadmi Party has harbored some of the pro-Khalistan groups. Could have been, their victory also could be attributed to the pro-Khalistani groups itself.
I think there's quite a lot of dichotomy here, to my knowledge, so far as the Sikh political right is concerned. That doesn't, I mean, it did happen in 2017 maybe. The Sikh political right did support the Aam Aadmi Party, but in 2022, when we are here, if you see the statements of Sikh political right as well as Hindu political right, they both oppose Aam Aadmi Party. But the problem with Aam Aadmi Party is that, you know, whatever happened in 2017, Arvind Kejriwal's hobnobbing with suspects of the Khalistani movement, so that did cause some sort of shadow on Aam Aadmi Party, that they harbor Khalistani elements. But the dichotomy, as I mentioned here, is that both the Sikh political right and the Hindu political right within Punjab, they actually aren't really supportive of Aam Aadmi Party in the state.
Right, you know, and we very interestingly, the Aam Aadmi Party MLA also accused the Shiv Sena, the Congress, on one hand, and on the other, the Akali Dal of clashing, calling this a complete political clash. And nothing to do with the social fabric of Punjab itself. That otherwise it seems like all is well, but this was instigated by political parties. If that's true, what is the intention of the Akali Dal and the Shiv Sena? What do they intend to do by disrupting harmony here?
That's what surprised me. I heard Mrs. Jeevanjot Kaur, she named Shiv Sena, but you know, we discussed this before, that Shiv Sena doesn't, the official Shiv Sena doesn't have a base in Punjab. So when Mrs. Jeevanjot Kaur spoke, it occurred to me as if, you know, there is some sort of Aam Aadmi Party's recognition of Shiv Sena in Punjab, which I don't think is the case. In Punjab, you have BJP, you have Congress, you have Akalis, you have the Aam Aadmi Party, which is ruling the state, but you don't really have Shiv Sena as a political force. So both, if this is a clash between two fringe elements and it's you know, portrayed as a clash between two communities, I think that's something that everyone should exercise restraint on. At this moment, we got to be really cautious about, you know, terming it as a clash between Hindus and Sikhs in Punjab. So in my sense, I mean, maybe she is right. There might be some sort of political motive which we cannot rule out in today's political climate. But this shouldn't be allowed to escalate or portrayed as a clash between two communities.
Right. Stay with us, Harmeet. Pooja Shali joining us on this. Pooja, over to you. The kind of clashes that we see in Punjab at the moment, of course, very disheartening to see that swords are wielded, absolutely no regard to law and order there. Yet the police now trying to calm the situation. How do you look at this? Well, absolutely. This is the first big test for the Aam Aadmi Party that has taken over the government in the state of Punjab. And now I'm joined by Aam Aadmi Party's MLA from Amritsar, Jeevan Jyot Kaur. Jeevan Jyot, Bhagwant Mann, the Chief Minister, is now facing his first big test. This appears to be a communal clash. For now, the police is trying to ensure it does not escalate. How are the lawmakers of the Aam Aadmi Party ensuring that the law and order prevails in the state of Punjab, that after so many years, it has been able to see peace now for a long time? Right, that is Punjab Chief Minister Bhagwant Mann's first reaction coming in post the Patiala clash. Remember, just about few weeks since Bhagwant Mann has taken over as the Chief Minister position for the state of Punjab, and officially in many ways the first full-fledged state that has come to the Aam Aadmi Party. This is their big test today. It appears to be for now a clash that has taken place where there are swords that have been brandished, stones have been pelted. What exactly happened? What is happening in a state of Punjab? And we'll try and continue to get you voices from the Aam Aadmi Party, from the Akali Dal, from the BJP, from the Shiv Sena expectedly. Remember, amid all this, it is the Shiv Sena in this furor that has erupted. The Punjab Chief Minister says we are closely monitoring the situation. Let's quickly go across to Harmeet Shah, joining me live from the newsroom. Harmeet, because you understand Punjab politics fairly well, for such an incident to take place where there's a Shiv Sena which does not have a strong presence in Punjab suddenly come out on the streets brandishing swords. On the other hand, we see Nihangs, we see the Sikh groups coming out. What happened, and how do you think this needs to be, how important do you think it needs to be halted so it does not escalate in Punjab?
Absolutely, there is. It shouldn't allow to be escalated at all. As I mentioned before, it shouldn't be portrayed as a clash between two communities. Maybe there are political motives behind this incident, and which is quite rare in history of Punjab. Punjab never had any communal clash even during militancy, but this time it seems that as if there was some sort of trigger that led to it. But let me tell you one thing: that all these events, when they happen, the basis is there. You can see them unfolding on social media. So I think the buck stops at the Aam Aadmi Party.
Absolutely.
The buck stops at the state government. They should be better monitoring social media, what kind of provocation is taking place on either side.
Harmeet,
and
stay on with me. I'm now joined by Manish Tiwari, who's been a member of parliament also from Punjab, and of course clearly been and his home state is Punjab. Manish Tiwari, when you look at these visuals of a scuffle, of swords, of stones, what do you think happened? And do you think at this point this is definitely political upheaval, but it is taking communal overtones? Manish.
Well, first of all, to correct you, I wasn't an MP from Punjab. I am an MP from Punjab.
I correct myself, absolutely.
I represent the parliamentary constituency of Sri Anandpur Sahib, where the Sikh faith was founded. And incidentally, I am also the only elected Hindu MP out of the 13 in Punjab. So therefore, I thought, let me...
Sure, please go ahead, Manish. Sure, please go ahead.
So therefore, what's playing itself out, and I, of course, do not have first-hand knowledge. I'm only briefed to the extent of what your guest coordinator told me when he connected this phone. But what he has told me, based upon that, what's happened is extremely unfortunate, and the administration must do everything possible in order to ensure that there is never ever a recurrence of such a unfortunate incident. The symbiotic bonds between the Hindu and the Sikh community are extremely strong, and even the depredations of Pakistan from 1970s onwards till 1995 did not in any way weaken those bonds. And therefore, this is something absolutely unprecedented. And this lunatic fringe, whosoever has given, expression to their feelings in this manner, it must be proscribed and must be proscribed.
Manish, the presence of Shiv Sena Netas here, how do you think the Shiv Sena leadership needs to respond to it? Because this could possibly spread to other states if it's not resolved at the earliest in Punjab and specifically in Patiala.
Well, I am quite surprised because this is not the culture of Punjab. This is not the ethos of Punjab. This is not the milieu of Punjab. Even when we were at the receiving end of the worst depredations of Pakistan, there has never ever been any tension between the Hindus and Sikhs. And to the best of my knowledge, since I'm in a court of law and I'm not currently aware of the situation on the ground firsthand, but based upon my own experience of having been a minister from that state in the government of India, representing perhaps what is called the most Sikh constituency in Punjab, this is completely and absolutely out of line. And so therefore, I would like to urge the Chief Minister, I would like to urge the government that this is not in line with either the traditions of Punjab or the social milieu of Punjab. And this must be proscribed with the firmest hand possible.
Thank you so much, Manish Tiwari, Member of Parliament from Punjab, telling us about clearly that this is an unprecedented situation, and it is. Take a look at what has been happening there in Patiala right now. It has caught the country's attention. Suddenly, there appears to be a law and order issue. There is, while the violence and the clear confrontation has been stopped for now, on one side, there appears to be some Shiv Sena supporters who've landed up. They are brandishing swords. There are Sikh groups. There are some Pro-Khalistani groups. They are also now wielding swords. So therefore, the situation is definitely very sensitive. The police says they're trying and monitoring the situation. Bhagwant Mann, the Chief Minister, says we are closely monitoring. We'll try and ensure that peace and harmony is not disturbed. All of this while there are stones are also being pelted from some of the religious sites. I'll be tracking all the latest on this big story coming in about the clashes in Patiala. What triggered it? What happened? And how are the politicians of Punjab reacting? We'll continue to stay with this, heading into a very short break.